welcome to Pauper Cube. This is your host, Anthony Adams, a.k.a. Uber Bear, and I am joined by the one and only...
The one and only Stu.
Yeah, because you're the one and only sitting next to me right now.
I am. And unfortunately, we have just the two of us as far as our main host this evening.
But we can make it if we try.
We can make it if we try. May has taken a little turn and is feeling a little under the weather. But instead, we still have a trio today. And, well...
Yeah, we had a bunch of people cancel on us. Like, we had, 13 or... None. Sammich. But anyway, Sammich said he's available, whatever. He's coming up to bat. That's fine. Hey, how you doing?
That's okay. We squad G. It's fine. I'll be the G squad. It's fine.
Yeah, we're ahead by
after everyone else cancels.
We're ahead by 27 points. We're going to bring you up to bat. We don't feel like we can lose this game now, so let's go.
Good.
Fantastic. Let me out there.
Let me in, Coach. I've been sitting here eating green M&Ms this whole time. I'm ready for my first home run. All right, Junior, get up there and swing that bat. But hey, before you do it, I need you to bunt. What do you mean bunt, Coach? Bunt. We're going to bunt some Pauper Cube today is what we're going to do.
We are.
The proper Pauper Cube.
The comprehensive, definitive Pauper Cube.
Could you say proper with your lovely accent, please?
The proper Pauper Cube.
That is the correct way to say it without this old colloquialism.
It's a lot more proper with the British accent.
It's so much sexier.
Much more proper.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about... Well, you're prepping for CubeCon 2025, where you are the one and only Pauper Cube. Actually, you're the first Pauper Cube to come back since the first CubeCon, if I am not mistaken.
I couldn't make it to that one, so that's exciting.
I wonder why that is. I wonder if there's just other people saw Chris's cube and just felt that they couldn't compete and I'm not even going to bother submitting mine, or
they were terrified. Truly, the guy that's in the cage ready to bunt because we're ahead by 27 points.
They don't see for such a popular. You got to imagine there's probably some amount of the themed horror cubes, and if there was a plethora of vintage and peasant and pauper, those kind of very power specific cubes. Obviously peasant and pauper are rarity restricted cubes, but it still does surprise me that is the only one. And I'm going to go with the narrative that everyone else got scared of.
And I'm going to promise this, that while I'm saying all this, we make all these jokes. He is the inspiration, or we're going to call him the cleaner, right? He is, oh no, the cleaners for the Labyrinth reference, but he is the person who fixes my cubes. He is a cube badass. And so much so, I'm going to fill his little head. We put him back in the bunt booth here in a minute, but that Gavin Verhey absolutely loved his peasant cube, thought it was one of his favorite cubes he drafted, and, people adore your peasant cube. We have been advocating, and I mean advocating, that your Pauper Cube is, we call it the proper Pauper. There is the Pauper Cube, and no shade towards that cube. That cube is gorgeous. But Chris's Pauper Cube, now that's a symphony. That's a Moonlight Sonata, if you will, right? This thing is, I'm telling you, it's gorgeous. And I've watched them both, and I've seen the list, and I've drafted them both. But I truly adore your cube, and I'm really hoping that the listeners will latch onto this idea, because your Pauper Cube has got it going on. I don't have much to say past got it going on.
I will say this, there were other Pauper Cubes I know that were submitted for CubeCon, and some of them looked really fun.
They were
and it's
really
sad
good.
They didn't get in. I think people would enjoy them.
Again, no shade. We're just going to talk about yours because it happens to be the one at bunt right now, because we let you out of the batting cage.
That's right. I've been sitting here all season, baby.
You've been prepping, man. That glove's been hot. You've been slapping that ball in there. Just get that bat swinging and get up there and bunt, sir. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of things. So you've had some changes in preparation.
Well, hold up. Let's slow down.
We are doing that, aren't we?
We are. We're getting way ahead of ourselves nowadays.
Excited.
I know you do, but let's first of all, to our guest, what are you drinking this evening?
Oh, just finishing off the last of a bottle of Buffalo Trace that I had. So I got that tonight.
I spent like $2.59 for a BOGO deal and got a Wicked Weed. That's how much Pernicious is actually done now. So, how about yourself?
Yeah.
It's one of those super tall ones. I don't have the bag.
It's a bucket. You've got a bucket of IPA.
7.3 double down.
Oh, I'm drinking, it's a smaller bucket, but I got another one of these High Creek from Sugar Creek Fruit Punch Sour Ale.
It's funny you should mention that, because last night we were at your house drafting this Pauper Cube, and we're going to go do our little beer run to your really cool refrigerator that I need to get one. And I said, "Hey, Sam, man, try this this high C drink." And he's like, "No, I'm going to get a beer." We're going to talk about your Pauper Cube now. So I got a question for you.
Well, crack them. Come on
Well,
now.
we're going to make the sound. I'm super excited to talk about the guy bunting. Question. I'm just going to come out the gate before we can get into it. You're prepping for CubeCon 2025. You are the first one to come back after the first CubeCon. People might not even remember that. As a designer and curator, how much pressure is placed upon you on preparation for something that it's different? It's not what we've seen there in the last couple of years. How do you feel about that?
First of all, I'm super excited that people will get to actually play it. I hope they do, and I hope they want to try and play it. Yeah, I've been trying to tweak it, little tweaks here, listening to feedback from the player group a lot more aggressively than I normally would have. Because sometimes people can be little. I don't agree with some of the critiques, but in this case, I'm taking a lot of it to heart, and they were right on certain things. So that's why some of the changes have been made recently.
So you cut other runes out of your Pauper Cube, even though it's uncommon.
Yes, I cut it from the very beginning. It just wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough. Yeah,
That's good.
Mom had to take a seat for this one. Yeah,
Poor mom.
That's our resident bit now at this point.
Yes.
The
I'm
mom.
never letting that go, ever.
So you've made some updates, and I've been following those actively. And I would encourage anyone to. There are no show notes. We're going to do this on the fly. We decided this time it would be more natural, more organic. If we didn't have a script, we actually also like putting poor Chris under duress. He walks in from work and
No. We're not doing that. This is not that episode. Okay, we're not going to put.
We're not coming at
We'll
you.
put the cube under the microscope and not be drilling Chris about. Let's start out. Okay, 2024 CubeCon, big success. 2025, here we are. It's back. First of all, for those of our listeners that are excited to go to CubeCon and excited to draft this cube, give them a 40,000 foot, give them an overview of really the larger changes that have happened in the cube that they might expect in the 2020.
And I will add to that
version.
the structural differences that you have, unlike, say, the definitive Pauper Cube, because you are the proper Pauper.
And I want to talk. I want you to talk about pacing. I want you to talk about aggression, control. Really go as deep or whatever into it as you like.
All right. So recently, I've made quite a few changes over the past year. First of all, it's gotten smaller. The cube over the years, I had it above 400. It was above 400 cards, probably 405, I think, at the most. And I cut it down to 360, because I like tighter lists, as we've talked about in the past. How much I like a smaller cube list, because I like more consistency than anything else. I've tried to push, the usual stuff is there, the aggro, the mid-range, and control. Control's a little tougher in here. Control and aggro are tougher. Mid-range is easy at this rarity, in my opinion. Because your aggro, unfortunately, they don't put a lot of 1-drop, 2-power creatures that common. There just aren't very many of them. They're coming. There's some actually really good ones coming in the Airbender set, but that's not till after CubeCon, so they're not going to be able to be in here, unfortunately. I've been able to make changes to things like the graveyard deck. There's been a lot of good cards that have come out for the graveyard deck. That come out, a lot of good cards for the Spells Matter deck. A lot of things like that have come out that have made a lot of changes for that. It's even dipped its toes into black instead of just blue and red because of a card from Final Fantasy. Yeah, and it's just trying to smooth out the mana curves, get the removal right. Because that's always been a tough thing with this, because a lot of the best removal ever printed was common and uncommon. And, you have to be careful about putting in the best of the best removal, and so, yes.
And structurally, we actually had a conversation about this last night. I always kind of joke with you, like you should run Force of Will in all of your cubes because of the scaling. but then you push back for the reasons because rarity symbols didn't exist during the time of these printings. Where do you lie with that? Because some of these are first-time listeners, right? And they're interested in building a Pauper Cube. And the reason why I'm going to say that I thought about this today, I actually wanted to do this. I wanted to get around to it. I never did. I was thinking about cloning your cube, stripping it back down to non-foils, and then doing a comparison adjacent to the fake cube to see where you landed on price. But if I had to estimate at 360, if you bought these non-foil, you probably would land closer to 80 to $100. Is that without the sleeves, without all the crap, all the things, right? That's about, if you wanted to start a cube, this is where you could land. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, it'll cost you around $100. Now, sourcing all the cards from one place might be tough, but it's like you got to take all that into account. But
yeah, I'm not going to count for shipping
these
fees.
Cards
and all
very.
that.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to count for shipping fees. I don't have time for that.
No. I understand that.
Taxes,
I get that.
and state and local,
you can buy the cards raw for $70 to $100. Yeah, the cheapest versions of them. Yeah,
great entry point, and a comment that was made yesterday by our good friend Sam, who will not talk too much about the event where Chris just managed to run the table 2 games with Inti to beat me in the finals. That's a conversation for another day. But Sam likened it so much to limited, right? To plain sets and cracking actual boosters, because the majority of the deck construction that you're putting together is commons and uncommons, right? You might get the odd mythic, you might get the odd rare, but especially if you pick one that's multiple colors that the rest of your deck can't really support well, you might be incentivized from a power perspective to play them, but maybe the mana doesn't work out, and maybe there's a theme that you try to lean towards with the majority of the cards, which again are going to be in that common and common. So I feel like that really does speak to players who want to mirror that kind of play experience.
And I want to push back on it's great beginning. It is great beginning, but it's also great for honing in your deck building skills as a veteran player, because it can be unsettling to say go from the peaks power. Let's just go with Uber Bear's power cube or your power cube, right? They play one way. But when it feels at first almost disjointing, like a downshift to go down. If we play one cube, then shift down to your Pauper.
It's way more difficult.
But your card evaluation,
in my opinion,
changes so much that your skills from, as you said, like a limited set or cracking open a sealed set, where sure you get a mythic, you get a rare. They're great. They're bombs. But the majority of your deck makeup is the uncommons and the commons, where you even lean more on the commons just to get the job done, right? So you can win that pre-release.
Yep.
So this tests if you're a person who preps for like pre-releases and you like these going to a random draft, I feel like this is a better place to really dial in those skills. So I push back a lot when people say that it's a beginning, it's kind of your starter. It's not the Card Kingdom starter cube, which is also skill testing in itself, right? When those existed. This is heavily curated and refined, very much like if Wizards of the Coast made you a brand new set based on commons, and this is how you're going to open up your packs. This is what you're dealing with. You have to evolve and like know how to navigate. It resets your mind on power evaluation alone, right?
It does. I think that drafting the Pauper and the Peasant Cube present 2 of the most challenging draft environments, certainly out of all the cubes that we have throughout our group. I would say your Artifact Cube is right up there as well. I feel like vintage, high-power cubes, not that they draft themselves, because that's certainly not the case, but certainly because the power level is so high, and because you've got a very high power level regardless of the color that you choose, and you don't have to be quite so synergy dependent all the time to draft a good deck. Whereas I feel like you kind of really do have to make your choice early. You either draft in that mid-range, and I do feel like, and this is not a call out to the cube, I do feel like mid-range is not only heavily represented, but is probably the best way if you just want to increase your win rate. But drafting those decks that are highly synergistic is so much more challenging to me than most other environments. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's just how I always feel when I sit down to draft them.
Well, the way that I always look at this is it's a great one. When you say entry point for cube, I think it is a great entry point for cube to build one. It may not be the best cube to learn on or anything like that. I think Anthony's spot on that, like the cube Card Kingdom was it Card Kingdom or one of those places had the entry level cube that it was very basic, evergreen mechanics, very simple, easy to play, kind of stuff like that. So I view it like that. It's a good entry point if you want to build one on the cheap, for sure. But as far as you can make these very complex, as far as I'm concerned, and there can be a lot of intricacies with these cubes that, are they as complicated as say like your Artifact cube? No, but it's still it still can get there,
But
as far as complexity.
I think of them like the equivalent of when you go to the perfume shop, they hand you the coffee beans. Here, smell this. Cleanse your palate, or the ginger before sushi. They prep you for kind of getting ready for the thing you're doing, but it does require a lot of thought process and a lot of skill to actually navigate this and to see the forest for the trees in these cards. A card's worth it when we look at a typical cube and we see something that's French vanilla. We'll push that to the side. That is going to be the 15th pick in a high-powered environment. Yet in this environment, we can now see this is a 5/5 that has Ward 1, and suddenly it becomes a banger. It becomes a bomb. It changes your whole evaluation process. And yes, we've had enough reps with this, and people at KubeCon, unfortunately, through the nature of a draft, will not have this opportunity to get repetition as we do. But I hope the takeaway is that they see the complexity in the idea of something that is common.
I think you summed it up perfectly with it's the best entry point from a price perspective, but from an ongoing curation perspective, it offers just as much, if not more of a challenge than any other cube type, just because that rarity restriction really does pose such a challenge.
And do you feel like this is the easiest to break with adding something that should not belong?
Oh yes, there are plenty of commons out there, mechanics that make this just not fun. And so some of the issues that I ran into in the past, and you guys are very much aware of this, like
Mother
there's a
runes.
couple mechanics. Monarch is one of them.
Yeah,
What was
gross.
We don't talk about that
Monarch,
anymore.
literally
Well,
the blue
Monarch
one, the blue
and
one,
Initiative.
right? Ugh.
Monarch and Initiative are busted in this environment. They are completely broken. A lot of cubes still run Monarch. Some run Initiative. I wholeheartedly disagree from a play pattern standpoint that they are just not fun for this
I
environment.
want to counterpoint. I kind of get it because the creature density tends to be a lot heftier. I guess that's the path, the logic train they're following is you get the Monarch. Of course I'm going to attack you, but the turn sideways feature is definitely higher in these environments because you said this control is a lot harder to build here. Peasant becomes more a cleaner profile. But here in Pauper, you do tend to win games with the 3/3 for 2. That's where we're at in Magic now. Used to be Legends. But we now just kind of get through with these stat monsters, the 5/5 that has Ward 1. It does ultimately end games. I'm not saying that I agree with putting Monarch and all these things in, but I understand how people can go down this path that the creature will get through. And you will take it. I get they want to add, because there's a layer of complexity. We take this a lot. Like, if we distill common down, it can, on paper, seem like the most simplistic portion of Magic. So what they're attempting to do is add these layers. And I understand why they're getting there. Like, oh, the Monarch will add a dynamic to my environment that will make it so you have, but the tit for tat is already occurring. You didn't need the encouragement in that environment. The gaining of the card, sure, it's great, but people are already going to turn creatures sideways anyways.
I think you could make the argument that maybe as Magic has evolved over the years, that the commons and the uncommons, the supporting aspects of the broader archetypes have become more complicated, and just therefore that the commons and the uncommons do more stuff, right? And that's just a symptom of power creep over the years, right? So now commons are not just vanilla creatures. They do have, an ETB ability, or they come in with a counter, or they support some kind of greater play style that is going to support, maybe even the mythics and the rares that were printed in the same set as them.
But as we go down that rainbow of this complexity that you talked about,
well, that makes it much more
does,
complex.
But the encouragement's already there with things like Raid or Bloodthirst, right? These things are already encouraging the gains from the idea of attacking or the playing during your second main, that you didn't need that encouragement to push further.
Well, let's branch these.
Here's the thing that I see with the Monarch and why people will run it. So in a perfect world, Monarch kind of trades back and forth. It's like, and you think about it in Commander, Monarch
Looks fair on paper.
rings around the table a lot of times. It goes everywhere because it's a multiplayer mechanic, let's be honest. And it just does not work that way almost ever. Like the person who casts the Monarch has that 2/5 with Vigilance that gets Monarch, or, the Fall from Favor or something, and just doesn't ever lose it. And that's the problem, is that they just never lose it. They're able to keep it. The deck that's built around keeping the Monarch will keep the Monarch. So, and they bury the other person in card advantage. And that's exciting. That's fun to do if you're the person doing it, but it's miserable for the other player. And I don't want that.
You've unlocked
that's
that
what I
new
want to stay
thing.
with.
Card advantage is, we've talked about this before, in a Pauper environment, and I'll even edge that up into a peasant environment, card advantage wins games. That should not be a revelation to anyone listening right now.
Well, let's talk about not going back to the event, but yes, card advantage does win games. There's a reason why I took Library of Alexandria so heavily when I'm playing a vintage environment, right? And that's getting you one extra card,
which I just told you I think sucks and falling off. We just had a. We'll save
Chris,
that.
Chris.
It feels a little.
Do we just kick him out right now?
do.
Apparently, he just said that
It
library
would be way better if it made one colorless mana. Ba-bum. I know it does. I know it does.
Everybody
I mean,
just
it doesn't
switched
have
off.
the mana symbol on it, I guess, or the actual tap symbol, but yeah, I guess. It's just like,
All right, let's pivot that conversation, because I think that goes beautifully into specifically changes that were made, and we discussed this yesterday. We were privileged, and it was our pleasure to be able to draft this yesterday.
I got my ass kicked. I didn't feel very privileged.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, I did too,
I'm so
Anthony.
sorry.
I did too.
Oh,
I
my God.
I did bad.
It was miserable.
Well, specifically, Chris, as soon as I asked you yesterday, as I generally do, like, hey, what's going on? What changes were made? The first thing you said was, I have removed creatures that just cantrip. So specifically, these were cards like Spirited Companion and Dusk Legion Zealot. They are not super low-costed creatures. They're like, I think they're both 2 CMC, right? All they do is come in and draw a card.
I want to put a pin in this. I found this so interesting. Like, you know how people do like updates to their cubes and you try to follow their path? This is probably one of the most interesting, like you made my brain just explode when I read this. And I kind of want you, I'm going to ask that you read your blog out loud, Chris, because this is interesting and people might understand what we're saying, because you opened up a whole new way of thinking about Magic cards that I would not have thought about this. I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, he is right. Cannon fodder. Well, I will put this in. I'm talking a lot. I apologize. Cannon fodder still has a purpose in this environment, but please carry on.
Yeah, so it came up recently in some drafts. We drafted this a few times recently, trying to get rid of Cube Gone, made some changes for Final Fantasy, Edge of Eternities, and also a few other random changes that have come up, just because I didn't like some of the cards that were in there, and I said I wanted to make some changes. Well, it came up that some of these little low mana cost 1/1s, like he mentioned the Spirited Companion and his friend, the Dusk Legion Zealot, they do basically the same thing. One loses a life, one doesn't, but doesn't matter. They're little 1/1s. All they are little speed bumps when they come into play. That's all they are. They don't actually do much once they're played. And one of the things that was pointed out, it kind of made a lot of removal not great.
Invalidated.
Like, it invalidated some removal because they're like, okay, well, I can kill this thing with, whatever. And
I'm going to put a pin here because people are going to appreciate this. Those that listen to the episode about Kyle and the thing that we talked about during that episode, which is, I'm trying to time travel here the best I can, but it's going to be next week's episode, but this will be the week after. You're going to find this kind of revelation in here when you're doing your evaluations on whether or not a card has value or worth. As I interrupt you, I'm sorry, but it felt important that these cards have already served their purpose. They're spent. Mm-hmm. The tank is on empty. Now they've entered. Welcome, Spirited Companion, a 1/1. How do you address this?
Well, I decided that I said, okay, well, I don't want to cut all the cantripping creatures. It's like there's some that actually do stuff when they come into play, like the 3 mana ones, like Inspiring Overseer, for example, or the Cloudkin Seer, I think is what it is.
Seer, yep.
Anyway, but they're flyers, so they can actually kill your opponent.
They're
they
kind
can
of
actually do
mold
things to your
drifter
opponent.
light if we're going to do that for complexity, right?
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. They're yes, they will cantrip when they come in, but they actually have the ability to kill your opponent. Those little 1/1s, they're not doing jack squat to your opponent, unless you're bone splitting them up, and that's
Well, so
okay.
let's tear that apart. Well, you're right. That's Bone Splitter is not Magical Christmas Land. equipment, I thought
No,
about
not
this.
at all.
I thought about this when you said this, and I know that you're really relegated towards the common spectrum of what you'll get out of equipment. That's the whole problem. But if people are thinking right now, well, I've got this 1-1, it's kind of spent. It will feed my air quotes. Does Aristocrats exist in this?
I was
Pauper?
just going to say
There is a version of Aristocrats. It's not
it's
as
not-
good as
it's not as
it
weighted
really
heavy,
comes in its
right?
own uncommon.
Yeah, I was just going to say, both of these cards would have been kind of magic in the deck that I drafted yesterday, because I did go to
in the with the Aristocrats type of
the
scheme.
Aristocrats type of deck. Absolutely. Drawing cards is never a bad thing, and I actively wanted creatures that I could block with and then sacrifice to make other creatures bigger or to draw cards. Like, there's the 2 mana, it's 1 black and a colorless. Is it Infernal something where you get to sack a creature and draw 2 cards? Like, what a great tempo play that is, to be able to block a creature and draw cards. You know,
I'm really torn about this. I was thinking about this more than I should. Okay, your blog says, did a few drafts with my group recently, trying to gauge where the cube is prior to CubeCon this year after some recent updates. One thing that came up was a multitude of low mana value creatures that can trip when they enter. I've lowered the amount I've lowered the amount in recent years, but a lot of them felt that so many of them they basically invalidated removal. That's what you're saying in a nutshell. Which we've kind of. I thought this was like. This is an episode. I don't even want to talk about the Pauper Cube. I want to talk about this idea of cards that have spent their wheels, their gas is gone, you're an empty tank. Yep. Sure, you're on the side of the road now. You're calling AAA. This is interesting. But then, latch on to what he said, the cannon fodder still serves a purpose for these other strategies by proxy, where I'm going to sack it, I'm going to throw it, I'm going to equip it, I'm going to block with it.
Too slow.
But it's interesting.
Too slow.
No,
way too slow. Can't spend 3 mana just to draw a couple of cards when I'm getting slapped with a 3/3.
No, you're right.
And then
you're
another
right.
3/3.
He's right, because we've looked at some of your other stats. He's not wrong. But it feels like a little bit of like hope is lost here for these kind of Mole Drifter lights. Where do you land on that?
Okay, what I was thinking was, I need to make it more special. Okay, I understand you want to. There's plenty of other ways to make little 1/1s that you can throw and do whatever you want with it. There's lots of those out there. They don't draw cards, but I want to make that. I just want to make it more special, and you have to build your deck differently. You don't just get a freebie, is the way I'm looking at it is. I want you to have to work for it a little more, and I'm okay with that. I think that's a totally fine way to have to play the cube. And, you know, there are a lot of other cubes that I've seen as I've looked at other Pauper cubes. They're not running these either. And I didn't get this idea from them, but I started looking. I was like, well, where's the Dust Legions? Oh, it's not there. Where's Spirit of Companion's not in there. Huh. Some other people, I guess, have come to this conclusion too, and it's like I didn't realize
these
that.
These cards feel like a little bit of a crutch. I play them exactly like I don't even know why I'm doing it sometimes.
I feel like they're more trappy than crutch. I feel like you, again, if
do it all the time though,
because
I'm like
maybe drawing cards, maybe just that draw cards is like
exactly what it is.
Shiny.
It's that allure of card advantage wins in Pauper, but you are paying for paying 2 for a 1/1 that does not really enter combat. I even find the trap a little further where I'm willing to spend my Unearth card to get back the Dust Legion Zealot and or the Spirited Companion. Why am I doing that? I've now drawn 2 cards. I spent 3 mana. I've done a divination. To no end result, truly. Not really, but I cave into this idea, and I find that so fascinating. A divination's fine card. Love that card. But that's ultimately what I have completed here in this circuit. Without even the representation, though, is now I have over that course of that little idea that I've tossed at you, a 1/1 block, a 1/1 block. We'll call that in air quotes. I've pseudo time walked a combat scenario. I've defensively postured, right? Mm-hmm. Outside of the idea of Bone Splinter.
Yeah, agreed.
And I've never seen this trap. So this was such a mind melt for me when I saw this. And I think it's a revelation that other curators of Pauper cubes could latch onto.
Well, you're
Peasant,
bringing
same
up
thing.
yeah, you're bringing up Bone Splitter as a very aggressive card, right? I think equipment in general,
Absolutely.
especially in a cube like this, you're trying to play it aggressively. You've got much better things to do with a Bone Splitter than put it on a 2-mana 1/1, right? You want to put it on anything that is a little undercosted. So the one that I raised when we were pre-gaming a little bit. And Sam actually just beat me to death with this. It's the 2-mana, comes in with 3+1/+1 counters on it. He didn't even put any equipment on it. He was just very aggressive with spells or creatures that they weren't 1/1s, they weren't 1/2s, they weren't 2/1s. It was everything was 3 power or more. And you only need to get slapped with those for a couple of turns where suddenly your life total is critical enough that those 1/1s that you're spending 2 mana on, you start drawing into those, especially at the point where your life total is in the 6, 7, 8 kind of region. You're dying very, very quickly. And now all of a sudden, just drawing an extra card, I don't care that I've got an extra card in my hand because I've only got 1 mana left and I'm facing lethal next turn if I don't do something.
So I'm going to read these cards off, and one of them's going to be outside of kind of what we're talking about. But for the sake of the update and preparation for CubeCon, I kind of want to talk about these. So we talked about Spirited Companion. You replaced that with Seeker of the Way. Dusk Legion Zealot became Liliana Spectre. Goblin Legionnaire, which I think is a whole conversation in itself, became Dismantling Blow.
Orm's Thunder. I made a mistake.
Yep, it's Orm's Thunder.
I saw that later in your thing. You have to show me how you did that. But okay, Orm's Thunder. What was your logic and reasoning?
Completely forgot.
Aside from the cuts, you did the cuts. The cuts have happened. What's the reason for adding these cards back? What's the purpose of Seeker of the Way, Liliana Spectre, and not Dismantling Blow, but Orm's Thunder?
Orm's Thunder. Okay. So Liliana Spectre, I just wanted a card. Liliana Spectre was in the cube from the beginning. I put it in at the very start. When I first built this cube, it was in there from the very beginning. You know, it's a 2/1 flyer for 3 mana that when it comes into play, each opponent discards a card. And a 2/1 flyer, this is actually kind of like card advantage, but not really. Where it forces your opponent to discard a card. So it's a flyer, and it can kill people. That's another reason I wanted it in here. The Seeker of the Way is just a more proactive play than Spirited Companion. I know Sam and last night I saw him play this card, and he was actively attacking with it. He was actively gaining life with it. He was triggering the prowess. He was getting lifelink on it. He was doing a heck of a lot more than he would have done with a Spirited Companion, which is he was taking game actions. He was being proactive. He was playing the game. He was trying to kill his opponent. That to me is a win as far as I'm concerned with the changes. Is seeing that, because I was sitting right next to him. He played Faithful Watchdog, which is that 3/3 you were talking about, and then Seeker of the Way. Then he had like the Pollen Bright Druid to put a counter on it. You know, he was doing all sorts of stuff with that +1/+1 counter deck, and yeah, I thought it was just a much better play. Now the Goblin Legionnaire, just no one played that card.
I love that card.
It's a relic of the past. It was better before when damage went on the stack. There just isn't very good Boros cards at common. They're just the only other one is like there's a morph card that's pretty good called Dogwalker, but I don't want to put that. I don't want to put
Have
one.
Have you considered
morph card
adding Orm's Thunder? It's very good.
Yeah, I heard about that. I'll get right on that.
Good advice there, Anthony. Thank you. Thank you. Well done.
It's kind of a placeholder until something better comes along. If there's a better Boros card at common, I'll probably end up swapping that
Pretty
out.
soon
It's
you're going to
just
be dealing with like One If For My Baby
damage
or whatever that was, the sniper from Fallout. You'll pretty much get that common pretty soon, I imagine.
Oh, Craig Boone.
The
You're
joke
talking about
didn't
Craig
land.
Boone.
All right, Craig Boone. All right, cool. We'll make it land. All right, we're forcing it now. Everybody
Force
laugh.
of will.
Audience
Force of
applause. All right, so let's kind of talk about let's talk about what people actually want to hear. We've got past the whole cantrip thing. I like the theory behind it. I hope that applies. And for you listeners out there, I'm hoping that you guys will follow Chris's, now renamed by me, the proper Pauper. We're going to make that stick?
Okay, so I'm down for proper Pauper.
Proper Pauper.
There's way too many P's in there for a Friday after a Scotch. What this has got me kind of thinking about, though, is Power Pauper.
I like Power Pauper.
Because
we've already done Powerful Pauper.
We've now discussed multiple kind of high power options and availability.
Let's give them what they want, though.
Well,
they want to know that Final Fantasy VII. They want to know that EOE nonsense.
If you're ignoring all of the, the lack of rarity symbols from back in the day, as well as the ability to introduce things like Initiative and Monarch, now you have the ability to make Power Pauper. Chris, when will you start this project, and can we expect it for CubeCon 2026?
Probably not ever going to happen. You are, Stu, you have a good track record of building cubes. So why don't you get onto this?
Listen. As Anthony said right at the get-go, you are like our cube, like,
aficionado,
God, right?
de facto cube.
I've posted.
I will critique the hell out of it.
I've posted this Diablo cube, and I'm like, hey, I need critique.
Just
I need cards.
Print the damn thing so we can play it. That's what we're.
I'm not printing the.
Can we have an intervention now? Can we just
it.
interrupt this entire episode for a Stu intervention to finally, for the love of God, like the last episode of Uber Cube is going to be like, oh my God, I made a cube.
Do you know
We're
what? We
it.
have our good friend Nathan. Love Nathan to pieces. He was like, post it in the Discord, and I'll see what cards that I have. I'll actively help you build this cube so we can play it. I don't see anyone else really stepping up to help me with the list or tell me what cards they have,
Venmo checks
or anything. Yeah, I mean.
So let's get over to EOE. We're gonna kind of a little bit of time walk here. So EOE. Sure. I want to read this first card to you. I'm gonna make you read the second one, by the way, Chris. So get ready for yourself. So so Edge of Eternities was one of the most recent set besides Spider-Man and Time Bender, Airwalk, whatever, SpongeBob. I don't know what we're doing anymore. But Mounted Dread Knight. So I'm going to read this card. Mounted Dread Knight. You get for 4 colorless and 1 red. You get a 5/4. Creature, Vampire Knight, Trample. Mounted Dread Knight enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it if an opponent lost life this turn. I like this card because it kind of has that raid feel about it. You cut
that card.
You cut it.
That card's a cut.
I know. I'm reading it because I'm going to make you do the replacement now. I finished my. I finished my paragraph.
You got it.
Yeah, I finished my paragraph.
You got it. Oh, this guy's great. This Cav Land Seeker.
Yeah. But I want to do the word comparison. Oh my God! Now read that card. Jesus.
Yeah, Cav Land Seeker. 4/3, 3 in a red. Menace. And when it enters, create a lander token.
What's that?
It could be any of your next end step. A lander token. It has reminder text on it, sir. It has reminder text on it. Lander token is an artifact that you may sack for 2 mana to go get a basic and put it into play. You have it for 1 turn with the Cav Land Seeker. It has to sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step.
That's a con.
Your next turn.
Dear God.
Yeah. Dude, the card's great. The card is solid. The card is super solid.
Well, first of all, I don't know about you guys, but let's talk about the Mounted Dread Knight. First of all, it's a 5 mana cost, 5/4 trample, which is a serious threat by itself.
And encourages combat.
If nothing else. I will say I'm not a fan of the do this if an opponent lost life this time.
I'm a huge fan.
I'm not a fan of it.
It's bloodthirst. It makes people do the thing.
Not. I don't really think in red you need much of a reason to make your opponent lose life. You're trying to do that anyway. So yes, you have the opportunity.
I cut the card for that reason.
Yeah,
it just wasn't played.
It feels kind of
people didn't play it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not a fan.
Frankly, I kind of like that card more than reading.
Well, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Cov Landseeker. Oh my God, so many words. All right, that's
fantastic.
EOE. That's kind of a wrap, right? Like EOE, kind of you didn't do much.
No. I added 2 more cards. I added the Cryogen Relic, which is blue and a colorless artifact. When it comes into play or leaves the battlefield, draw a card, and you can spend 2 in a blue to put a stun counter. Sacrifice it, put a stun counter on something. I have a big return to your hand. Like Core Skyfisher theme at this rarity, and I really like that. It's more so in Peasant, but it's really helpful in this one. This card has been very good.
I added that card to my artifact cube. It's also featured at CubeCon. So yeah, I get it. It's pretty neat. It's like a little trinket that does things.
Yeah, and also I did this. I was trying out this Star Breach Whale, which is 4 and a blue for a 3/5 flyer that when it enters the battlefield, surveil 2. But it has warp for 2. So I wanted to try out something like this for the more control-y decks and the stuff that likes to put stuff in graveyards. Not sure how good it is. It's been okay. I had someone play it last night, and they thought it was all right. So,
Well, let's go back 5. Let's travel in time again. Let's go back 5 weeks to Final Fantasy when that set released.
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about
Final
these.
Fantasy.
Let's talk about these
got
editions.
more.
Good God.
Probably the best card in there was Black Mage's Rod. That I think was the best one.
This is
card
such a
is
good
solid.
card. Such a good card.
I played it last night. I still
Yep.
lost because I never actually got to play it. So there's that. It was in my deck though, waiting for me. It was like, Papa, Papa. It could have been so good. But I've played this card before. Yeah, I think this is the best common out of this set. It's so good.
Definitely one
Can
of
you
the
tell
best.
the listeners what Black Mage's Rod does, please, and why they should add this to their Pauper Cube, and probably Peasant, because this card is
Maybe.
a
I haven't put it in Peasant yet, but it is very good. For 1 and a black, you get an equipment that has job select. So when it comes into play, put a 1/1 hero into play and attach this to it. And then it says whenever you cast, I believe, a non-creature spell. Yeah, whenever the creature gets +1/+0, cast a non-creature spell. This creature deals 1 damage to each opponent, and is a wizard. So it's a wizard, and it has equip 3. Fairly low equip cost for these. A lot of these have a very high equip cost, like 4 or 5 or some ridiculous number. So a 3 equip cost ain't bad. And this card's very solid. It has slotted right in with even the sacrifice deck likes it. So it's been a solid card.
The only thing, all right, tell me if I'm just expecting a little bit too much from this rarity level, right? So
common.
Exactly, it is a common. Okay.
Okay.
So this comes in. You create the token. It's the equipped creature that gets the +1/+0, which obviously makes a lot of sense because it's not going to get anything otherwise. But it's also the creature that gets the advantage when you cast the non-creature spell. So if this falls off, you're not doing that pinging effect.
It happened to me last
the
night. I
non-creature.
did manage to
It has to
actually
be
play it
equipped.
one time, and it's such a perceived threat in your environment in my mono black deck that I played last night that it never stuck. I did actually jest and say I didn't get to play it. I stuck at least twice, and there was a point where the initial job select felt right, and then after that I paid the 3 mana, and I just wasn't going to do it again. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
It is a lot to invest in something where as soon as it gets removed, now you've got to spend the 3. Okay, whatever you get attached to is fine.
Treat it like a sorcery in my mind. That's exactly how you should do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I think it definitely holds a slot. I just didn't feel like I wanted to continue to invest in this. There's a point where I should continue forward.
And one other one that really has surprised me is White Auracite. It's an artifact for 2 and 2 white.
Damn it! I forgot to order that.
It's just a
card
mana
today.
rock. I'm sorry.
I forgot to order this damn card today. I literally placed an order.
Yeah,
Where were
card's
you
very
earlier?
solid. It's a mana rock for 4 mana, which doesn't seem that great, but when it comes into play, an Oblivion Ring, something actually more so Banishing Light. So it when it comes into play, exile a thing until this leaves play. It's been really good.
I want to talk
better
about
than I
this.
ever anticipated it would be.
Yeah, so I want to talk about this specifically from this 40,000 foot view. First of all, it replaced Faith's Fetters. Faith's Fetters is an enchantment, and White Auracite is an artifact. So White Auracite is, as you say, a mana rock. It adds white only, but that's not insignificant. Faith's Fetters also gains life, right? So I would like to know from you how you perceive this from the greater cube level, as far as how much of an impact both the fact that it's a mana rock would be, and the fact that you gain that 4 life, or now you've lost that 4 life because Faith's Fetters isn't in the cube anymore, and also where it ties in from each of the removal types, enchantment versus the new artifact.
Hard to kill.
Yeah,
versus
so
not.
the way I looked at it was, to be honest, either one, I really like Faith Fetters too. I like that gain 4 life thing, but sometimes against certain decks, that 4 life was almost insurmountable. There are certain decks that just could not come back when you gained that 4 life. So enchantment versus artifact is meaningless as far as I'm concerned. It is what it is. It doesn't really matter to me. I wanted to try this out and over the Faith Fetters. And I'll be honest, I have not missed the Faith Fetters. The White Auracite has kind of just slotted in and done a good job as replacing it, because it just can get rid of things. They get rid of tokens, which is nice.
But I feel like that ramp is kind
Fetters have
of
problems.
the ramp is just kind of trinket text at that point. Like it doesn't. I mean, it's cute.
Believe it or not, it helps. It has helped.
I evaluated this for the film, and I couldn't come to the determination that I'd rather just run Banishing Light. I mean, it's for 3 and do the thing. The ramp forward costing me 1 forward. I don't know. I couldn't make
This environment's slower, so you have to think about that. This environment is slower than your Fem cube. So the Banishing Light is more important. Being able to cast it for 3 in your environment, I totally agree with you that you should have a faster removal than this. This is 4, but at common, it's fine.
Is it important to have that for whatever deck? Obviously, it's a fairly generic sort of control-y piece, right? Because it's not it needs to fit in this specific archetype. How much consideration was put into the I want white, or white might need a little bit of acceleration at the CMC that it's at, right? To go from 4 to potentially 5, or on the next turn to go from 5 to potentially 6.
All right. I'll be honest. The fact that it's a mana rock, as Anthony said, is kind of superfluous. It was kind of just more so.
It was just the removal.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice that you get the extra mana.
Yeah,
and it has been relevant, but it's just the removal aspect is obviously why you play this. You don't play it as an acceleration piece. At 4 mana, it's really not a mana accelerant. No. It just isn't, because you don't really need the white at that point, because you're already producing 2 white mana to cast this thing.
Yeah.
So it was more so just kind of gravy on top of it, because Faith Fetters, when it comes into play, it gives you the 4 life, but it doesn't actually do anything else other than stop a thing from doing anything,
killing you,
basically.
I mean, that's what it does.
Yeah, but
right?
so this does the same thing. This does that too. It stops something from killing you.
Net 4 though is I'm going to push back. That net 4 is the only, not a person that really digs the idea of life gain or life link, but in an environment that is creature dense, and you're saying I lack control. Control wants to gain back 4 life so it can get back in the game.
Control also
doesn't want
extra mana. Control.
I mean, it does.
Also wants extra mana.
Not for well, that's just like ancillary at that point. That's just bonus. I'd rather have 4 life so I can stabilize in my control patterns versus I can continue to ramp in my control patterns.
It's just too bad that now that I put this in, Faith Fetters can never come back in. I'm sorry, they can't.
But you see the weird little kind of
it's gone now.
There.
I ripped the card up. Actually, I got Wizards to delete it.
Banished.
So,
but you're never going to get the idea of control if they can't fight against the idea of aggro and mid range. Yet they need the life to become control.
And I will say that's probably the feedback that I would have is I like cards in a control shell that allow me to stabilize in a way outside. I don't know. I've drafted a million control decks through many cubes, and I do love the life gain. I know it's kind of
I'm not saying has its reputation. I'm saying enough to get back in this
enough
game,
to stabilize for sure.
Where your counter spells.
Well, it's really hard to
abuse it.
It's hard to abuse it in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because the identity of control is hard to kind of parse out here. You've said this before. You don't have signposts. You don't have these things. You're a lot more. I mean, for lack of better terms, it's easy just to put in a pile of cards into. If you want to make a Pauper cube that has no defined archetypes, it's easy, common. Just do it, right? But then actually making these dividing lines a little smidge of something provided by that 4 life does let you get back on your feet to go, all right, I can beat these non-stop onslaughts I'm receiving from these. What was the thing? Watchdog? Watchdog is that Selesnya nonsense. This is how I make it one more turn to get back on the...
I understand.
Yeah.
I get it. And I agree with you that 4 life... Again, Faith Fetters was in the cube for a long time.
I think it should stay. I'm voting keep.
Are you voting keep Faith Fetters?
Voting keep Faith Fetters over the mana rock.
The reason why I like that card is because the 2 mana 3/3 was followed up Sam cast, and again I'm going to rely on you for the card name, but it was the sorcery that you cast. It might be 4 mana. You get a 3/3, and then it has rebound. So you get 2 3/3s.
Oh, Trumpeting Herd. Trumpeting Herd. Yeah.
So, and that was how Sam curved in. Is it 4 mana value total?
It costs 4. It costs 4. It makes 2 3/3s over 2 turns.
So that was a critical point of the game for me, right? I either have to... There's no, easy board wipes. How many board wipes are in the Pauper cube?
Oh, very few.
Right.
There's some black ones.
Minus two,
There's some
minus
white-
two
there's-
type things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
white doesn't even have any.
Right.
It's like there just really aren't any.
Yeah. So immediately, by the time turn 4 comes around, you don't have to do a whole. Obviously, rebound is free, so you're not having to pay extra mana for that. So you're getting 2 3/3s. There was a 3/3 already on the battlefield. I was playing my 2 mana, like trying to get an engine going kind of cards. And this is sort of a theme that we've talked about in the past, but that's where those kind of, those kind of decks can be difficult to operate without those kind of, again, like you mentioned, those stabilizing pieces. And I would agree. I love Face Fetters. I think it sort of fulfills that same role, but just having that extra life can be critical.
I mean, I may end up putting it in and just run both because I do like White Auracite. I don't mind running both. I'll figure something out.
Do it.
Yeah,
Not a
that
problem.
is actually a control shell. You run them both, and I'm not saying the same drafter is going to take them. You can't predict that, right? But at least having those tools, so you can design this idea of someone and go outside of the possibilities of what typically is reviewed as Pauper. Yeah,
Yeah, it's again, both Face Fetters was in the cube for a very long time. I wasn't sure whether that was the cut or not, and I like hearing these perspectives. They really do help.
I have another
in me
sad
deciding
one.
what I'm going
I
to
do
do.
like Cryogen Relic,
I like Force Spike.
but you know what I like? Force Spike more.
I love Force Spike.
Yeah, Force
Force
Spike.
Spike is
Force Spike
my-
had to go. It's just I love Force Spike too.
Come
but I'm
on
trying
now.
Cryogen Relic, and I'll be
I don't
honest,
know how I
haven't
feel
missed
about
Force
that.
Spike. I'll be honest.
God, you don't like stopping people from doing what they want to do? I guess.
I feel like
You can still do that.
I feel like in a cube where you're trying to spend all of your mana each turn, I think you're always incentivized to do so. I love cards like Force Spike even more.
It gets
I-
them.
it's
Again, it can
so
go back in.
strong.
It can
I
go
love
back
it.
in. I got to figure out what to cut now. that's just it.
Cut Mana
When you get to
Tithe.
360, it's tough.
You
Cut Mana Tithe, get it in Force Spike. Okay.
all right, Anthony is
sure you got it.
officially all right. He just said cut Mana Tithe, and he said that library is bad. There's no coming back from that.
More added in my first Colossal Dreadmaw, which is that Bellam T-Rexor or whatever, the trampler that gets 3 life when it comes into play. I did add him in this big Force Cycler as well.
So to make it clear for the listeners, you're giving green control aspects, but you're refusing to give actual control aspects. Got it.
I'm not saying I'm not perfect.
I'm
man.
saying the
I'm not
Stompy
saying I'm
decks
perfect.
definitely needed help in this environment, and you're supporting them. Now you're pushing.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I'm interested. So David,
You do make a good point.
Our
There's
good
things
friend-
I didn't notice.
yeah, our good friend David is he likes to draft green, right? You can normally rely on David
does.
to draft some kind of green deck. I don't know. I would be interested to know how did his deck perform yesterday. Obviously, we drafted yesterday. We got good benchmarks for it.
Destroyed me.
I think we all died.
He destroyed me.
I don't even know why we're here. I think we literally all died. Yeah. I owe 3 like nobody's
He
business.
trampled all over me, man. He rancored up some
With what
stuff, and it
colors
was just
Rancor?
awful,
What colors
and I just
Rancor?
died.
What colors Rancor?
Green.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you're giving them 3 life. Good God. I literally would have liked to have gained some life so I can get back in the game, but I got mauled by everything. Good God.
So you mean in the mono black deck that you were playing that you said you had Gray Merchant in, you didn't gain life?
I really wanted it to work at least once. I'm not going to lie to you. Gray Merchant dot deck was going to be a whole deck, and it's not.
You cannot just keep playing black things and hope to generate enough black pips on the battlefield by turn 5 and then play a Grey Merchant and expect to survive. You're dead before that Gary hits
Unless
the
you
field.
can sacrifice it and bring it back, because there are reanimation spells at common. They're very expensive, like 4 and 5 mana, but they are there.
So as we kind of wrap this up, let's kind of tie this off. So my question for you, as you're prepping for CubeCon, what's been your overarching kind of, I guess, your driving goals? What have you been trying to do with this cube in preparation, knowing that you are the last Pauper cube standing at this entire event? What are you
So what I was
expecting
trying to do, I'm sorry. So what I was trying to do was ensure the least amount of trap cards, make sure everything works well together, and make sure that there's nothing in there that just is I don't want too many power outliers. I also don't want I don't want any super weak cards either. You know what I mean? Cards that just people don't want to play. And I did replace one of them, which I love this card, but as Bill pointed out, it was time to go. I cut Ashes to Ashes for Cast Down. Ashes to Ashes is an old favorite of mine. Exile 2 things, lose 5 life, and then No one has been playing that card, even
And then
though
cast
I think
down,
it's great.
kill
But
everything in a pop
Cast down
cube.
can kill everything.
Yeah.
It can kill everything.
At least control.
Yep, but people will actually play it.
5 life is no joke.
Yeah, not when you're getting romple stomped by these.
It would help probably if I had a Faith Fetters in there. It would help if I had a Faith
Faith
Fetters.
Fetters would help. Faith Fetters would be nice.
But as you
But,
kind of as you kind of prep and you tie it off and you're getting ready, I know it's actually I feel a little sympathy for you because it's kind of hard. You're actually doing something that no one else is going to do. We're going to have all these sophisticated cubes, all these clown shoes cubes, and then insert Pauper. How do you compete? What's the appeal?
The appeal of this is that you get to play very intricate games. There's a lot of decisions during the draft. You can go a lot of different ways, and a lot synergy rules over raw power in this queue. If you like drafting like putting together engines, a little machine that kind of works together, where all the cards work together, I think you'll have a lot of fun playing this cube. And if you like turning creatures sideways, that's another thing. This cube does a lot of that. So it's really fun in that respect that you're actually playing where you're using your 1-for-1 removal to get rid of that blocker, or using your burn correctly to burn out a blocker, as opposed instead of on the opponent.
Not two-face. That's the only way to do it, right? Burn to the face.
Yes, you're right. That's the only way to do it is face. Yes, you're right. That's the only way to do it. Yeah. But yeah, and to give an example of just removing traps, it's like I noticed during like Cube Cobra drafts that my Golgari grave deck was kind of lacking in a lot of things. So I added a bunch of cards that helped with that too. That's another
Golgari Grave Troll? You added GGT to the cube?
Oh yeah, Golgari Grave Troll added him. Sure. Yeah,
I did not realize that had been rarity shifted. About time.
Deathrite Shaman.
But you know, it's just if you want to have just a good old fashioned fun with Magic, try out the Pauper Cube. I think you'll have a good time.
And then other than that, Stu's going to take us with his lovely, lovely, proper British accent to the socials.
First of all, as always, to our Patreons, to Patrick, to Jeff Stumpo, Nicholas Lapointe, Chris Fitzgerald, Timber Dragon, Brian Christensen, Keaton Schultz, Lord Justice, Preston, and Sam McKenna, a huge thank you to all of you guys for keeping the lights on. I know that we spoke about in the past, you are going to be Patreons, not patrons.
Thank you, Jeff.
Patreons. Patrons of our Patreon.
Patrons of our Patreon will be Patreons.
Whatever you want to call it.
Thank you, Jeff.
We love you guys. Thank you again. If you want to get in on the discussion, you can visit facebook.com/groups/mtgcube. Join Anthony and all the rest
Chris,
of the crew.
who's active in there.
Well over 1,000 members.
Stu doesn't often check the face group.
I got
Facebook.
things to do.
He's got a life.
I'm sorry. I know. I've got a life.
I'm always just
Exactly.
doom scrolling.
Don't say that. That sounds terrible.
I doom scroll.
That sounds terrible.
That's what you do.
You can support the show by using our inkedgaming.com/Ubercube affiliate link for all kinds of playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, custom and large volume products available for your cube or otherwise Magic experience. You can find us on the socials at Twitter at UbercubeMTGPod. You can also find us at Bluesky, UbercubeMTGPodcast.bsky.social, and at YouTube at UbercubeMTGPodcast 747. You can reach us via email, ubercubemtgpodcast@gmail.com, if you've got a longer question or comment about the episode or Anthony's ridiculous decisions or choices about Library of Alexandria or any other nonsense.
If it only tap for colorless mana.
Anthony will not be joining us again, and it was lovely to know you, Anthony. And as always, come hang out with us on the Discord, get involved in the conversation, show us those decks, show us those news cards, tell us what you think.
And I really hope you're enjoying the show. And if you would consider joining the Patreon as a patron of the Patreon, it does go a long way. We joked, we jest. It buys the scotch, it buys the beer, but it also lets us go to events. It lets us expand our horizons, do more. Otherwise, I am literally confined to the Raleigh-Durham area.
And if you don't, go yourself.
Yep, we'll add that to it. I'll put a duck. There's a duck. I'm putting a duck.
Anthony's
right
going to edit
That's going to stay.
Otherwise,
I'm not going to edit that out. Literally, a duck is going to.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, with that, we're going to say what we always do here and say
Happy Paupering! Pauper
Happy Pauper.
Play this damn cube.
Faith Fetters.
Faith Fetters is way better than whatever the hell.